Wireless PC VR in Assetto Corsa EVO with visuals that genuinely rival a wired direct DisplayPort headset. Today I'm testing virtual desktop on the Play for Dream MR, not in ideal conditions but in rain and some of the most demanding tracks in sim racing. 3 cars, 3 legendary circuits and one big question: is this finally the wireless PC VR breakthrough that sim racers have been waiting for?
Play for Dream.
And a quick shout out to Play for Dream, who've given Next Level Sim Gaming viewers an exclusive discount on the MR headset and all Dream XR accessories. Scan the QR code on screen and you'll also find the links and discount code in the video description below. First up, Spa-Francorchamps. In heavy rain, driving the Porsche 992 GT3, this is one of the hardest tests you can throw at VR. Long sight lines, fast elevation changes, reflection, spray and lighting, and on top of that, wireless streaming latency actually matters here. What I'm looking for in this scene is clarity through rain, head tracking stability and whether virtual desktop can keep up when everything on screen is trying to fall apart. It's difficult capturing VR footage in virtual desktop on the Play for Dream MR, so remember, although this looks a bit janky in the recorded footage, it's ultra smooth in the headset view. The Play for Dream MR in Assetto Corsa Evolution, how does it play, what is it like? I'm sure many of you are really keen to find out because this is an incredibly demanding PC VR racing simulator and it's really difficult to get running well on pretty much any VR headset. This new recent 0.4 update has been a real game changer for me with this game in general. I always considered this a work in progress. Only now am I actually beginning to take it as a serious contender really for a viable PC VR racing simulator. I'm really enjoying this game at the moment and I've actually recently covered this as well in the top 5 2026 PC VR simulator titles, which was on the Pimax Super. Now on the Pimax Super, of course, it's a dedicated direct DisplayPort PC VR headset. The Play for Dream MR is a mixed reality headset that is consequentially a fantastic PC VR headset. This in virtual desktop, which is what we're using here, believe it or not, is running absolutely fantastically and we're getting over 80 FPS here. I would generally actually normally run this on a locked frame rate of around 60-70 FPS, but it gets above 80 FPS in certain conditions on certain tracks with a mixture of graphical settings. It's super fluid, it looks absolutely stunning. I'm going to put some actual through the lens pictures on screen so you can see this for yourself, because don't just take my word for it. The Micro-OLED lenses in the Play for Dream MR are absolutely beautiful. Now of course we've got the Pimax variations coming out soon. We've got the Pimax Super Micro-OLED optical engine that I'm going to be testing soon as well. And we've also got the Dream Air as well. But at the moment, the Micro-OLED lenses in this as a wireless device are pretty game changing. I'm constantly impressed with the Play for Dream MR. Now we've just had a new update to the Play for Dream MR again. There have been a number of, I think, visible improvements to the performance of this headset as well. Everything just seems to be getting better and better with it. Now there are people out there who don't like a direct DisplayPort headset, I understand that. And I have actually tested Assetto Corsa EVO on virtual desktop on the Quest 3, and it was just an unplayable mess. It really was. Bearing in mind that we've got Wi-Fi 6 on the Meta Quest 3, and I tested this game and it was just janky. I was moving my head, you know, jitter. Everything in this is absolutely immediate and looks absolutely fantastic. We're also in pretty intense graphical conditions here, so we're at Spa, as you can see, and we are in Spa type conditions. It's absolutely pouring down, as you can see again. I've just had a car just gone off the track there. Got to be pretty careful myself in this Leary 911 992 GT3. But this is a really impressive experience. For a wireless device, it is really unique. There's nothing really out there like this at the moment, and I was really impressed after tweaking it a little bit and going into this, to the point where I played this for a number of hours now. Now, the other thing that makes this possible, I have to mention as well, is that it's not a completely wireless experience. Of course, we have Wi-Fi 6E connected to a Asus 7800 AXE router, which is the PC connected via Ethernet to that router, and then Wi-Fi 6E to the Play for Dream MR. But we're also using here the pass-through charging cable that's kindly been sponsored to us and donated by AMVR for the purposes of this video, testing this. And I'm pleased to say that I'm getting 100% consistent charge through this fantastic pass-through charging cable. These cables are absolutely essential, but it's so lightweight and flexible, I can't even feel it. It's just so thin. It comes with all the mounts and everything, as I'll show you on screen now as well, to connect it firmly to the headset. There's no heat that's been generated by the headset, and this is another really important thing as well, because on the Quest 3, which I have used a lot in the past, and also the Quest Pro as well, which I used to use a lot, there was a lot of heat generated when you use pass-through charging. It never really worked very well, but in this, it's just absolutely amazing. I'm not worried about having to hurry or spend time to, you know, get through any races or anything. Everything is just unlimited now with this. It's as good as a desktop quality connection in terms of direct display port, because the experience is near direct display port quality in this, and I've mentioned that before as well. So of course we're not getting the same levels of detail as what we're getting on the Pimax Super, but what we are getting is really nice deep coloration. We've obviously got those Micro-OLED lenses, and it's just a really nice experience. It's really fluid, everything's instantaneous. I'm not getting any visible frame drops in this. It's just a really nice experience in general, and I think it's testament again to virtual desktop and how far this application has come, because I was quite surprised. I expected Steam Link 2.0 beta to do far better, but it was just unfortunately just unplayable on that. I was just not having a great experience on that whatsoever. So virtual desktop does have the edge still in this particular scenario.
Next, we're heading to the Nürburgring in the legendary BMW E46 M3. This track is less about outright speed and more about precision, depth perception and consistency. This is where VR either elevates your driving or completely distracts you. I'm paying close attention here to motion smoothness, micro detail in braking zones, and how natural the sense of skill feels through the corners. If wireless VR struggles anywhere, it's usually here. Let's see how virtual desktop and the Play for Dream MR cope with this one. It's one of the most demanding circuits ever made.
So this time we are at the Nurburgring, and we are in a BMW E46 M3, and this is one of my all-time favourite saloons of the 90s, and it's an absolutely fantastic experience again. It's far better now in terms of handling in this than it really ever was. It's come on a long way with the 0.4 update, and it's kept me coming back to this game quite a lot recently, and as I've already mentioned, it was included in the top 5 PCVR simulator titles at number 5 I did a video on recently. So going back onto this particular circuit and this particular vehicle, the graphics are absolutely spot on again in the Play for Dream MR. It's a mixture of graphical settings I'd already mentioned. The experience is really smooth, and I have to apologise that the screen capture that you're seeing is unfortunately not really representative of what I'm seeing in the headset. Everything in the headset is really silky smooth and super fluid, and the virtual desktop application on the Play for Dream MR is actually quite difficult to capture, so you're probably not going to see a lot of examples out there of what you're seeing here. In fact, this is probably unique in terms of sim racing content on the Play for Dream MR. But everything from my end here is super smooth. It looks absolutely fantastic. A bit of a leery vehicle, this BMW E46 M3, as in real life, obviously being rear wheel drive as it got snatched away on the corner just there. But yeah, absolutely fantastic again, really nice. And the other thing to mention as well about AC EVO is that, as well as the handling being significantly improved, a lot of a departure from the real wooden handling that I felt it had when this was launched. In fact, I actually played it a couple of times upon launch. Obviously, being a early release, I just literally just left it on the shelf until it improved. Only now have I recently started to really enjoy this title, and it's really a work in progress still, but again, it's just offering so much more now. And we've also got the new open world aspects to it as well coming up. There's lots of new things coming up in this in 2026, and real testament to the developers as to how far they're taking this and to how far quickly they're taking this as well. There's been a lot of recent updates to this game. So as you can see, again, an absolutely fantastic experience on the Nurburgring here. Lots of foliage. We do have obviously the pop-in that occurs on this as on the Pimax Super, but everything's super fluid, and testament again to the virtual desktop application, but more importantly to the Play for Dream MR with its Wi-Fi capabilities and obviously the increased processing power. There's no issue in terms of tracking. I can see everything right down to the granular detail with the apexes. Everything just looks fantastic. And obviously, of course, in sim racing, of course we want high FPS, we want the overall experience to be the best possible. It's more than an acceptable experience, because if you're used to a Quest 3 and you're used to virtual desktop, I admittedly have not used the Play for Dream MR in a wired capacity, and that may be something to look at in a future video, but virtual desktop has proved so good that I really haven't needed to. I've felt that it's just been as good as it gets, and an acceptable, and more than acceptable, PCVR experience on all the racing titles I've experienced so far. And the claims that the Play for Dream MR offering a direct DisplayPort quality experience are pretty founded in my view so far, and I'm not the only reviewer of the headset to say so, but I think the facts really speak for themselves. The main thing when you are playing a PC driving simulator, you want immediate response, you don't want any loss of tracking, you want the visual quality to be good enough so that you can see every single detail. Of course you want to see every single marker, you want to see the details in the apexes, the corners coming up, as a marker just there on the left hand side, and we move over to the right just here, and the marker again just we passed. It's just everything that you need to be able to see. There's no drop in quality, there's no drop in frames. Over a Wi-Fi 6E connection, this is pretty astonishing. Admittedly, I have not tried the Play for Dream MR over a Wi-Fi 7 connection. I know that AMVR has done a really good video on Wi-Fi 7, and if you want to check that out, you can see that the comparative differences between the two have really saved me from really exploring that, because there's no real difference, or in his findings there's no real difference to merit exploring Wi-Fi 7 at this stage. But Wi-Fi 6E does an incredibly capable job of keeping the latency extremely low, and the experience is more than acceptable in PC sim racing, as we can see here. But I'm really impressed with the level of detail in the vehicles, the reflectivity, everything is absolutely fantastic here, and it's a really good rendition of near desktop quality graphics. Again, I've used a mixture of low, medium and high settings here, almost like a custom mixture that I use. I've got MSAA set to maximum. We're not using DLSS here, this is just pure native quality. Of course, using a 5090, which obviously is going to help push the boundaries up with the graphical capabilities here, but you're not going to be disappointed with this experience as a sim racer if you are looking for a wireless experience. And the other thing to mention with the Play for Dream, of course we've eliminated the issue with the charging aspect,
but the comfort aspect as well, with the supplied top strap that I've got here from Studio Form, it just evenly balances everything out, and this is still using the supplied facial interface that was the real Achilles heel for many initial reviewers. As stated, with this top strap, that just completely eliminates the weighting on the face and therefore makes it very comfortable to wear in sim racing. I actually really do like the openness of the Play for Dream MR. It reminds me very much of the Quest Pro, which I really did love, and it's almost like a spiritual successor, I feel, to the Quest Pro, because it's everything the Quest Pro wanted to be, and it really does look pretty much like a Quest Pro and feels like one to wear.
A huge thank you to AMVR for providing the LC6 link cable used in this video, and this allowed an incredible pass-through charging capability and 100% battery maintained through 4 hours of continuous gameplay. And also the CK1 magnetic charging cable. This is also excellent as it reduces strain on the USB-C ports, and of course it works with all of the popular VR headsets such as the Quest 3, Pico 4 and many more. Check out the links and details in the video description, and exclusive discounts are available on both of these fantastic accessories. And finally, Brands Hatch in the iconic Escort RS Cosworth. Short, intense and brutally honest, this is a perfect track to test responsiveness and immersion. Every steering input matters, every head movement counts, and if there's any noticeable delay, blur or instability, you'll feel it instantly. This is where wireless PCVR either proves itself or gets exposed.
This time we are at Brands Hatch and we are in the Escort RS Cosworth, and this is absolutely fantastic. It's again a real smooth and fluid experience, and any game that lets me drive an RS Cosworth, which is one of the vehicles I absolutely yearn to drive and own as a young driver back in the early 90s, is top of my tree. But in the 0.4 update, again, another significant improvement has been to handling, and I've got to say again that this feels absolutely spot on. It really does, as he goes wide around this corner just to avoid an impact just there with this crazy E30 BMW M3 that's literally intent on wiping me out, as you can see. The AI in this Assetto Corsa EVO, I have to say again, is a little bit janky, but it's getting better, it's getting there, and I'm pretty sure that in 2026 this is really going to come into fruition as one of the top driving sims, as mentioned in my top 5 2026 driving simulator video. Back onto the Play for Dream MR, again you can see that instantaneous response, incredibly low latency over a Wi-Fi connection, and the experience is really enjoyable. The only thing I've got to say about this particular track, and this is something that I've noticed in a couple of times of driving around this, I noticed that the most furthest vehicle, which in this instance is a BMW E30 M3 right at the front, you can probably see it's just literally a skeletal vehicle at the moment driving round, and I'm not too sure if that is a bug in the game, but it's certainly something that I've never noticed on any other track other than this particular track, which is incredibly strange. I haven't driven on Brands Hatch that much in this particular game, but it's something that I've seen in perhaps maybe the last 3 or 4 examples of having a quick test drive around this track, and it's pretty annoying actually, I've got to admit. It's knocked a few points off its merit list for me in having that particular bug in the game, but again, it's early access, it's still in development and it's improving, so we'll let them off with that. And now we've come into a close proximity of that BMW E30 M3. It's now taken its full form, so a bit of a strange bug, that one. But that's not anything obviously to do with the Play for Dream MR, that's just a bug within the game. And the level of detail, again maintained over a Wi-Fi connection, especially with this level of fluidity, is nothing short of astonishing. And that combined with the Micro-OLED visuals, of course we've got no Mura, we've got nothing like that occurring, because obviously the Micro-OLED lenses do an incredible job of rectifying any issues like that. One question or one comment that a user had, I've just literally responded to it in between scenes in this video, was on my Cyberpunk 2077 video that I did with the Luke Ross mod on the Play for Dream MR, and if you haven't seen that, I'll link that at the end of the video as well so you can check that out. But he mentioned that with the Play for Dream MR, in his experience, he says that it does get some banding in incredibly dark scenes. Now that's something that I've not noticed, and I played a lot of Cyberpunk 2077 in the recording and making of that particular video. But I also have seen that the most recent updates in the Play for Dream, which was briefly mentioned at the beginning of this video, there's been some significant improvements in the actual updates, and of course one user had mentioned issues with chromatic aberration. Well, one hidden setting on the Play for Dream MR, which is quite unusual for it to be almost like a hidden setting, is a chromatic aberration filter that can be applied, and it really does resolve any issue like that. The negatives of the Play for Dream MR, of course, are it does have a narrow field of view, and that's something that I believe is something that many Micro-OLED headsets will suffer from because of the nature of the optics and the actual Micro-OLED panels. But I'm not finding it really too detracting. I've used the Pimax Super 57 PPD, and I would say that the field of view is pretty similar to that. One thing that I haven't done, which I will do in a future video perhaps, is to actually run some tests on the actual field of view using Test HMD, but I think the field of view is really quite acceptable in the Play for Dream MR, and probably on par with the Quest 3, I would say. But of course you've got far better visuals than the Quest 3, but of course it comes at a far higher price. So this is Brands Hatch, a little bit bugged unfortunately, but we've taken a look at lots of different vehicles so far, we've taken a look at lots of different tracks, and for me it's incredible that this is running as well as it is at all on the Play for Dream MR. This is, of course, not as detailed as what we're getting on the Pimax Super, and I would say not as fluid, but it's a really enjoyable experience. And I think as a wireless PCVR headset, or a mixed reality headset as Play for Dream like to market this, I think this is a really accessible and interesting proposition if you are wanting a wireless VR headset. It's a king of wireless VR headset sim racers for sure, because certainly out of the headsets that I've experienced, as mentioned previously, I don't think there's anything better than this out there as a wireless choice at the moment.
So after pushing the Play for Dream MR through rain, classic tracks and old school cars, here's the thing. Virtual desktop on this headset is genuinely impressive. The clarity, the Micro-OLED contrast, and the sense of depth, and most importantly the freedom of wireless PCVR, all come together in a way that finally makes sense for sim racing. Is it perfect? No. Is it viable? Absolutely, and for a lot of people this might just be the most immersive way to race in VR without cables. If you enjoyed this kind of deep vibe sim racing content, hit that like button, bash subscribe, and let me know in the comments, would you go for wireless for sim racing, or are you still team DisplayPort? This is Next Level Sim Gaming, and I'll see you in the next one.